How do you know it is time to replace your engine mount? Welcome back to Top 5 Auto Repairs. How do you know you have an engine mount that is going bad and it is time to replace it? The first common sign that you know that your engine mount is failing is going to be vibration. And you feel vibration throughout your vehicle, especially let's just say at idle. That's going to be a failing engine mount somewhere. On your vehicle, there's going to be multiple engine mounts that are supporting the engine. The engine mount is a very simple component and it's made of steel and rubber. And since your engine creates a lot of vibration caused by combustion, if that rubber part of the engine mount becomes extremely worn, again, you're going to feel vibration throughout your vehicle. The next common sign is going to be clunking noise or knocking noise. These noises are most noticeable, especially when you're shifting out of park from park to reverse or parked to drive. So another purpose of the engine mount is to support the engine and to keep the engine stationary. If the rubber part of the engine mount becomes extremely worn, especially let's just say under load when you're giving it gas or when you're shifting from park to drive or park to reverse, it's going to cause that clunking noise. The reason being is because since that rubber part is worn, it's going to cause the engine to start to move under load. The next sign that you know that it's time to replace that engine mount is number one, you see the rubber on the engine mount is completely worn and it's time to replace it. And number two, some engine mounts are filled with fluid. And if you see fluid coming out of the engine mount, it is time to replace it. It is important to change your engine mount when you see one or more completely worn. If you have multiple engine mounts that are completely worn, you're going to run into all sorts of issues. So again, the purpose of the engine mount is to support the engine to make sure it remains stationary. It's also to absorb vibration and it's also to absorb the torquing action of the engine under load. When you step on the gas pedal, the engine tends to want to move to one side, either from the left to the right, depending on the engine design, or you want to move from the back end to the front end and go that way. If you have a lot of engine mounts that are completely worn, it's going to cause your engine to start to move. And since nowadays the engine bay is completely compact and you can barely get your hand in there, the serpentine belt is very close to the side of the engine bay. And if it moves too much, it's possible that the pulleys or the serpentine belt can hit onto the side of the engine bay and cause damage to it. Since nowadays manufacturers are trying to cut costs, everything that is mounted on the engine is just barely enough length. For example, you're going to have the wires, there's going to be just barely enough length for you to remove it. You're going to have the radiator hose, just enough length. You're going to have enough, the engine strap, just barely enough length. And let's just say your engine starts to move around, it's going to cause a lot of these components to start to stretch, such as the wire, the engine strap. It's going to cause the radiator hose to stretch. And that's going to cause all sorts of issues. It can cause open and shorted circuit. It can cause the ground strap to break, and you're going to have a bad, you're going to have ground issue. It can even cause the radiator to break off too, since the radiator hose is attached to it. On some vehicle, the engine mount may have a vacuum hose that is attached to it. So basically air gets pulled out of the engine mount and it causes it to be much more stiff and solid. If this vacuum hose become broken or become detached, it can cause the engine mount to not function properly. As always, thank you for watching. I hope you found this video useful and subscribe to Top 5 Auto Repairs.